Welcome to You Are the Superhero podcast. I'm Damian Nordman. This is the podcast where we help you discover infinite possibilities and transcend just the tactics and the strategies in business, but going into the deeper inner work that you need to do to be able to transform your life, your mind, and your business. And this is also where we talk. We meet real life superheroes. We talk to them. We draw out their best. I've got an amazing real life superhero on with me today. His name is Michael Wagner, and oh my gosh, we are going to have so much fun geeking out today. Michael is the CEO of Star Atlas, which is what we're going to be talking about in a moment. So I don't want to even spoil what that is. But oh my gosh, Michael, you've done all kinds of things. I mean, you have been in cryptocurrency and blockchain and all these like emerging like methods of currency and stuff for over 10 years. You got your chartered financial analyst designation for 7+ years in the blockchain industry, 24+ years in the gaming industry, or at least gaming, and 5 years in executive leadership. This is going to be amazing, man. So great to have you on here.
Thanks, Damien. Yeah, really great to be here. Not sure if I'm a superhero or a supervillain. I guess that part is yet to be determined once plans go live in Star Atlas, but we all have our motivations. But thrilled to be here.
Oh man, if you are a supervillain, you're one of the kindest, friendliest looking supervillains I have ever. You got a giant smile on your face, so all right, you would probably be in the category of my supervillainry, which is pretty mild. So, oh my gosh, this is just going to be so much fun. First of all, just a little bit about yourself. I mean, what were you doing right prior to Star Atlas, and let's just talk about that for a minute. And who are you? Tell us that.
Sure. Yeah, I'll take it back to the 24 years of gaming experience, which is not game development by any means, but where the passion really formed initially for the creation and genesis of this idea of Star Atlases was way back in my formative years. Growing up in the 90s, and our computer group was called the Lanarchists. So back in those days, the only way you could really multiplayer a game was the local area network with other computer gamers, and that's what we did every weekend. We all went to a buddy's house and just ate pizza, drank Mountain Dew, and gamed all weekend. So
oh my gosh.
That's where the passion really comes from. Moving on from there into a more formal career, that's where my CFA charter comes into play. I worked in the field of portfolio management and investment and securities analysis, and then ultimately discovered Bitcoin in 2013, and it was attractive to me from a kind of financial standpoint of the potential of deploying these computers, these GPU rigs, to mine script coins. And so this was kind of like your earliest forks from Bitcoin, things like Litecoin or script coins, where you could actually mine them and earn coins and then turn around and trade those or speculate on those on various exchanges. And so, the timing was not fortuitous in 2013 because I just caught the tail end of the bull cycle. So it was right before the Mt. Gox collapse, at which, for anyone that's not familiar, Mt. Gox was the preeminent Bitcoin exchange back in the day. It's where the majority of crypto was exchanged, and also where it was kind of the key fiat on-ramp at the time where people would be able to bring real cash into the Bitcoin ecosystem. So I got in right before the collapse of Mt. Gox, and that preceded a 2-year bear cycle. But where I was fortunate is that it captivated my interest in the potential of this technology and the potential of the industry overall. And so I just spent a couple of years researching and immersing myself in the field. Went on to launch my first company in 2016. It was the Tokes platform, which is a crypto and cannabis company. It's dedicated to providing decentralized financial infrastructure to the legal cannabis industry across the United States. Entity is actually still up and running. We still manage that with a separate team. And in 2020, with many of the same team members that were with me at Multi-Chain Ventures / Tokes, we went on to conceptualize and create Star Atlas.
Oh my gosh, that's so wild, man! So many cool things we could drill into there. But I do appreciate, by the way, because I have a pretty wide range of listeners, and a lot of people still have not, don't understand a lot of the crypto terminology. We might be kind of fleshing that out a little bit and trying to understand some of it. And there's a lot that I don't know. I mean, I'm still relatively new to the crypto world. Okay, well, let's talk then. Let's just in the simplest terms, the stimulus for me bringing you on here was Star Atlas. So can you give people, anybody listening, and I have a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs like in my Facebook group and my podcast. So can you describe like what's the vision for Star Atlas, and like where did this idea come from, and like where are you trying to go with it?
Absolutely. So I will mention, one aspect that any of your listeners who are gamers will appreciate is that it's those damn crypto miners that consume all of the video cards. It makes it so difficult to go out and
I've
find
heard
it.
about
Because they're used in crypto mining and they make money, and so that becomes a competitive force. But yeah, I mean, the idea behind Star Atlas was kind of this unique intersection of an emerging field of blockchain gaming, which includes things like non-fungible tokens. I'm sure we'll get into all of these, but non-fungible tokens and crypto native assets, and maybe some incorporation of decentralized finance. And then what we wanted to develop and what we envisioned was a triple A quality gaming experience. So we want the product itself, the gaming experience, to be competitive with mainstream gaming. Something that you would see possibly at esports tournaments. And so what we've done is combine the two. We're developing out to the highest quality standards, building in Unreal Engine 5. So you're going to receive this full cinematic quality graphical fidelity rendered in real time in the game experience as you're out exploring space and you're conquering land and you're engaging in combat with other players. All of these mechanics will feel very much like a AAA quality game, but we've enhanced that now through the incorporation of blockchain. So as I said, non-fungible tokens, which means the player owns all of the assets. They truly own them. They live in a crypto wallet that they possess the keys for. There's 2 crypto native tokens, one representing governance for voting rights and one representing the transactional currency within the universe itself. The real advantage to the crypto native tokens is that we are able to deliver this play to earn model, which is to say that as you participate in gameplay, the currency that you earn in the game is able to transcend the game environment, because these tokens are traded externally on decentralized exchanges and even on centralized exchanges. And so you're able to earn one of our tokens, say Atlas, take that and convert it into Bitcoin, or ultimately convert it right back into cash. And now you are getting paid to play the game. You get the enjoyment value, but you also get to strategize and figure out how to maximize your yield and your income off of the activity that you participate in. And then I'll extend it out just briefly here. The much longer term vision is really the complete development of the metaverse concept, which is to say that the gameplay mechanics that we're introducing today are really only the spearhead. It's the entry point, and it's the mechanics that we use to attract players and individuals to the metaverse. But in the future, it is critical that people are able to create their own value, that they're able to be entrepreneurial and industrious and leverage our game universe as a sandbox within which they can create their own business models, generate value that gets contributed back into the ecosystem, and then find their own unique paths to extract that value.
Oh my gosh. So cool. So cool. Okay. So I'm gonna I'm gonna give you a chance to rest your voice for a second and just paraphrase what you said. By the way, quick side note, it's funny because I haven't been a gamer, but it was funny because I was talking to a friend of mine, and her husband is very much a gamer, and he designs websites and does other kinds of online things. And she was telling me, because they've been getting into crypto, I've been getting into crypto, and we just reconnected about a few weeks ago. We were talking, and she said that they had to they just wanted to get a video card, and they had to wait for their computer for a game, and they had to wait overnight because of all the people trying to get it for their Ethereum miners that they were waiting on at Best Buy. So that was kind of funny. But like, this is so cool what you're talking about. And it's almost like, to me, this is like you all helping to manifest a utopian reality, because or you could say heaven on earth, or an ideal society, or whatever words resonate with the people listening. But this idea that you can do what you love to do and you can make money at it, even if it's playing video games all day, even if it's doing things in a virtual world all day, like you said, where there's other options that you can, people will be able to do. I just think that that is so cool. Real quick though, because I've only tried to describe this myself, I haven't had any experts on about crypto. Could you say in the simplest terms, for those people who are still who've never heard of it or have been hearing about it for years but they've never explored it, what is cryptocurrency? Can we just like real simple baseline, because you seem like you have a great understanding of it. What for other people, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the network and the protocol and the function of the specific cryptocurrency. Ultimately, it's, I guess, to try to summarize, it's in most cases decentralized financial networks. So a distributed network of nodes wherein there is no central authority that is operating the network. So we as individuals have the ability to participate in the collective. And in doing so, we improve, well, deliver, we provide the security of the network. And that is what the GPUs actually do in most cases. You're running this hashing algorithm that is ultimately computations of a consensus algorithm that allows everybody in a trust-free manner to be able to agree on the state of the network. So that's kind of blockchain. That's what Bitcoin introduced back in 2009. And it's extremely powerful for us to, it's probably the first time in human history that we've been able to eliminate the requirement of trust between individuals, and in so doing, eliminating the requirement of a central authority of trust from which everybody else utilizes as a source of truth. So now it's just distributed across all of the people that are participating within the network. So that is kind of what blockchain accomplishes and how cryptocurrency is valuable.
Awesome. Can you just drill down one thing you said when you say trust, when using the word trust, what in what context are you there's something even I'm not quite grasping there that I just wanted to, it's like I'm almost understanding it, but what do you mean by that?
Yeah, it all comes down to kind of a bank ledger. So, in physical space, if we have cash, for example, that I physically have cash and I'm giving it to you. Now, maybe you have to be careful that it's not counterfeit bills.
Right?
Or alternatively, if I'm making an electronic transaction from my bank to your bank, there's trust there because we're trusting that the bank is maintaining the ledger of balances, right? Now, in
Right.
cryptocurrency, that doesn't exist at all. And so, how do you eliminate the requirement for this central source of truth and enable everybody to agree that
Okay.
all of the balances are legitimate and accurate? And the way you do that is by distributing the history of balances to every single node. So everybody can reconcile and vet from the very beginning of Bitcoin's history or any blockchain's history through today. You can monitor all of the transactions that have ever taken place.
Okay.
And this is why we consider crypto to be pseudo-anonymous, because it's only anonymous to the extent that that your wallet address, your public key of a key pair encryption, your public key is not affiliated with you as an individual, because as soon as it is, then I know every single transaction you've ever made because I can go view those transactions on chain. So
Right.
it's through this transparency, though, that we're able to eliminate the need for you to believe me that what I'm actually sending you are legitimate funds.
That's so awesome. Yeah. That's so cool, and it's just kind of amazing that this technology has been developed and is being continued to evolve and be developed in so many different forms of crypto, and like you were saying, so many different uses and platforms. I was really kind of introduced to it through the Helium blockchain and the Helium network, which I've been working in my city, which is, if you want to learn more about that, I talk about that in an episode called should you get into crypto or something a few months ago. But yeah, and then since then I've learned about some of the other ones, and it's really fascinating. So okay, let's see. Let's dive into this a little more. Um, let's talk about Star Atlas and how this is some of the things you were describing where you're wanting to make this a viable way for people to earn an income. Maybe we can talk about how how is that really going to be possible? Like, what's like, can you help put, because I can kind of visualize this, but I want people who are listening to be able to kind of go into your mind, and those of you all who are creating this, and see like kind of the reality that you're seeing. Like, what will a person be able to do? Could they actually, in years to come, be able to make this sort of like their job, right? Or their, their investment, where they can actually turn up an income, and this is what they do with most of their energy to produce their livelihood.
That is the objective. And I do want to actually circle back just to an earlier comment that you made about creating a utopian universe, which is really not our goal. We are, because trust that the universe, the metaverse that we're creating is full of peril and danger, right? And so in so many ways, it will replicate or simulate reality and all of the dangers that exist within reality. And even the nefarious bad actors that exist across society, they will exist within this game, and probably they'll be more prevalent in density than in, somewhere local to you. But where it's empowering is that we are able to tear down barriers of, go so far as say systemic oppression, but we're able to create opportunities for people around the world who are otherwise constrained by their geographic location, where opportunity might not exist. And so I've kind of used the term of New America moment in the past, which is to say that just because an opportunity doesn't exist for somebody in a job in the local economy does not mean that they can't now enter into Star Atlas and find a new opportunity for themselves, where maybe the same forms of oppression don't exist within our universe, right? So the ways that people will make money are through a couple of core gameplay mechanics, but this is through, first of all, owning a ship and then navigating space. And there's a number of different ways you can make money. It could be as simple as you discover new areas, you collect the data on that, and then you can turn around and sell that data to other people who maybe want to understand the bigger picture of the universe, but don't want to go do all of the exploration themselves.
Right.
We call them data runners, and it's just kind of mapping out the universe. It's Columbus discovering the new world, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is mining asteroids, placing mining equipment on land that you can own in the game. You can own real virtual real estate, and that virtual real estate has access to minerals and ore on the planet. And as you mine those materials, you can do a couple of things with them, which includes either just immediately selling them for Atlas currency, or refining them up into higher level materials, such as precious metals or alloys or rare materials. And then those get combined to create and mint new non-fungible tokens, including new spaceships themselves. And all of this, by the way, is exchangeable freely on an NFT marketplace, which is developed into the game. So all of the transactions that you take place are on a pure peer-to-peer basis. They don't flow through us at all. You actually will list on the marketplace an item that you wish to sell, and another player, another person from around the world, if that's desirable, will purchase it from you. So these are all direct peer-to-peer transactions. But really, it's kind of going out, space exploration, also attacking other players or completing missions. These are all things that provide rewards in the form of new assets, bonuses, or just currency directly. And then there are some other elements that we've introduced through our governance token, a concept that is really gaining popularity and significant traction is that of a decentralized autonomous organization, or DAOs. And what this does is allows communities, through the ownership of the token, to direct the future of whatever it is that they're vested into. And this might be a decentralized finance protocol, or in our case, it's the ability to actually vote on the future direction of the game, which could mean asset releases, economic decisions, inflation schedules, anything like this. The player, the owner of Polis, will actually be able to vote on and contribute their thought as to how the game should evolve going into the future. And then, the final point, again, getting more into the longer term vision surrounding the metaverse itself. A full functional economy will not be reliant on the subsidies that we're providing. So anytime we pay out Atlas to a player, that is a subsidy. It's the natural inflation that will occur that allows us to attract users. But in the future, it could be somebody that just wants to set up their own shop on a planet. Maybe they want to sell digital art through the shop that they curate through some external marketplace, and they bring it into the game and then sell that to players. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's Nike wants to come into our game and have a virtual reality based storefront shopping experience for consumers, right?
Yeah.
So why go to the physical space if you can go experience virtually the real thing in the Star Atlas universe? So these are kind of like where in the future the potential to generate revenue or income for the player is so enormous. It's not through the mechanics we provide, which is just
Right.
the entry point. It's how creative can you be?
Oh my gosh, I love that. I mean, I feel like you all are bringing the best of so many different elements to bear, and it actually starting to sound like the Oasis from Ready Player One, right? Have you've probably had people kind of comment on that, right?
We do get that a lot. We do.
Yeah, it definitely has that largeness to it and that feel to it as far as like so many of the different elements. Which, by the way, everybody listening, read the book. The movie I felt like sucked. Go read the book. Very good book. Um, and I did want to comment that, yeah, so when I was talking about a utopian society, I didn't necessarily mean so much the metaverse inside the game, which I know there's going to be pirates and and all kinds of, who knows what other things, but just in the fact, like, the opportunity that this presents for the user, for the person who, like you said, I mean, my buddy Matt got me into all this stuff, right, in crypto, and turned me on to Star Atlas, and he kept thinking about how, what if Star Atlas was in a full blown mode when the pandemic hit, right? I mean, how many people could have continued to earn an income or pivot into something and been like, oh well, can't really do my I can't drive a taxi anymore, I can't go do this certain other job right now, so let's just to have that as an alternative. And I don't know how familiar you are with Andrew Yang and some of his stuff, but like in his book The War on Normal People, he has a much less, well, I don't want to say a less fun version of what you all are doing, but like he definitely was talking about gamifying things more like stuff you could do like out here in the physical world, but connected to apps and connected to different types of currencies where people could earn different credits, and it just basically give people alternative forms of making a living than what's available. So anyway, let's see. Again, there's so many directions we can go with this.
Maybe I can jump in with a
Yeah,
quick,
yeah. Go for it. Go for it.
just a quick comment on that, because we want to be very careful about the way that at least we introduce this, and it begins to evolve over time, because we're not trying to run an alternative virtual reality that people exist within exclusively, right? Like, we don't want it to be the Matrix.
Right.
We don't necessarily want the Ready Player One kind of dystopian future where the real world is horrible and the only place for salvation is within the metaverse. But exactly what you're describing is, it's quite possible for us to um, commingle kind of real world experiences and real world value exchange with what's taking place within the metaverse. And that could be as simple as, maybe you can order your food delivery through Star Atlas while you're playing, and
Yep.
somebody in real life, delivers that to you. Or I could engage somebody through the game and say, I will pay you in Atlas, but I need you to go pick up my dry cleaning for me in Las Vegas, right? And so it starts to kind of really blur the lines between what is virtual reality, what is digital reality, and what is just reality.
Yeah. Oh, that's so much fun. Again, I feel like this connection with you guys and what you're, I mean, it's just fun to me, like to jump into this and to think about these things and to start, as you guys are bringing it more and more to reality, and making it so much of a user experience. And as you said, bringing in those elements where people could create businesses within, to bring all sorts of different products. I mean, I know some artists who are starting to get into NFTs because they want to get their art to more people. And so maybe that, like you said, whether it's having a shop or whether it's selling your stuff to someone who has a shop in the metaverse. So maybe let's just define real quick for people, what is an NFT? What does it stand for, and what is it? And because they are important there will be in Star Atlas, important in Star Atlas.
So NFT stands for non-fungible token. The probably easiest way to describe it is that, a fiat currency, our dollars, are fungible in nature, which means they're exchangeable, interchangeable. If you have a $20 bill and I have a $20 bill, we can exchange those freely with one another. There's no difference, right? So that's a fungible currency. Non-fungible tokens represent some unique limited quantity asset. In some cases, it might be a one of one. There's only one of them, and there's no comparable item on any other marketplace to exchange that with. Or in our case, with some of the assets that we're issuing, they will just be fixed supply, fixed quantity. So, any of the units within that category might be exchangeable for a period of time until they start to get altered with various statistics or specs that a player might attribute to it. And then they become unique. But what's important is that non-fungible essentially means unique or non-homogeneous assets. And so therefore the value is really left to be determined by whomever has a desire to purchase it.
Oh, it's so cool. And that'll include like even like the ships that you like when you buy a ship to fly around, that ship will actually be an NFT, correct?
That's right. I mean, almost everything that you see within Star Atlas will be a non-fungible token. And that includes so your ships, your crew members, components that go onto your ships, weapons, shields, etc. Power thrusters, generators, etc. The land that you own, the virtual land that you own, in its very nature will be unique because there's only one parcel of land that exists on, planet XYZ out in galaxy ABC, right? So that is a unique piece of land that you can possess truly. It sits in your wallet. And then also space stations. So you'll be able to develop out space stations out in space that other players can come and use, by the way. And, for the strategic player, maybe they're placing their space station somewhere where it's semi-remote and other players need to access it to refuel their ship. And now they have, stronghold on all of the refueling that goes into ships that pass through their space station, and they get to collect some of the revenue off of that.
Nice. All right, cool. So now I love this. So let's move. We're already kind of moving a little more into like some of the elements of the game. We can just kind of bounce back and forth between kind of the game and then like how currency works and all that. So I'm curious, like I've heard different things, and I'm curious initially, how big is this metaverse? Initially, how big is this metaverse going to be? In other words, like we think of space travel, anybody who's, whether you're talking about Star Wars or Star Trek or, more recently, I know there's other games out there. I mean, I haven't played any of the online versions, but, I played some of the contained versions when I was a kid, like Space Rogue or something. So like what's the universe going to be in terms of its expansiveness that you can explore? How can we comprehend the size of that?
It's a unique challenge that we have. And also, I'll openly admit that we don't have all of the factors worked out just yet. What we need to balance out is the quantity of players that exist within the universe, the amount of assets that are available for those players, maintaining some degree of scarcity, by the way, because that is what largely drives the underlying value of these non-fungible tokens. If
Right.
we, as a game developer, just print and print and print, kind of like the Fed does, right, with dollars,
Yeah.
then the underlying assets will be inherently worthless. So what we need to balance out, and the metrics that we'll be looking at are user growth and adoption, as well as quantity of assets that have been consumed or purchased from us, and as well as metrics around deflation, of which we have a number of, including the fact that when you're out into the highest risk regions of space, your assets can be destroyed permanently. It's permadeath. It's very high risk, but it's very high reward out there. But that means if your ship gets destroyed, you lose it, right? It's gone. And so that creates natural deflation too, which means that asset needs to be replaced. either by purchasing it through us or by purchasing one from another player. So we factor in a number of variables into our formula that will describe when we can expand the universe. So it will start smaller, based on a smaller user base. And as we see numbers grow and more people playing the game and more assets purchased, and more assets destroyed, we will be able to expand the universe. And the idea is that it's procedurally generated and that there is no true border. It will be limited only by those underlying metrics that I just outlined.
Okay, well that makes a lot of sense. I guess maybe to just to give a little bit of scope though for people, because this is a space game, right? So obviously, like even in our physical world, we still haven't even got to Mars yet, right? Like it's like we should have gotten there by now, I feel like.
Sure.
But um obviously there's going to be some form of like traveling between at least star systems, solar systems. If not, I don't know if you're going to have it where you can travel to other galaxies yet, because that would be pretty huge. But like I don't know, just maybe describing a little of like what's that gonna be like or look like to be able to, what have you all conceived so far as like, can a person go anywhere, right? And any like pick a direction, fly towards a star, or use their star map or their computer, onboard navigation computer or something, and just head out there? And how long will that take? And what will that even look like as far as gameplay?
Yeah, let me, I guess I'll start by describing the kind of faction system that we have in the game. There's three independent factions. These are all warring territories, and each of those starts with the central space station, which is a neutral zone or a safe zone. So players will be able to freely navigate throughout the safe zone without fear of being attacked by other players at all, and limited risks from the environment. So some other, rogue spaceship coming and attacking you, a PvE style spaceship attacking you. As you explore outward, now these are very small regions. The neutral zone is just satisfactory to allow a player to learn the navigations, learn the controls, and get some competence in being able to fly around space. Then it expands out into a medium risk zone where you can be attacked by other players. And every one of the factions has this, by the way. So you can, if you think about it from a spherical model, think about these being somewhat centered in the sphere where the central starting points are. And the lore behind it is that it's all centered around the cataclysm, which was this discovery of immensely dense minerals and ore. For anyone that's been following along with the Rebirth digital art campaign, the discovery of Iris, that was what was represented in that first poster, was the cataclysm event. And so, and then the medium risk is a little bit larger. Again, slightly more risk, but the rewards are improved. And then the majority of space is going to be this high risk zone where if you get attacked and destroyed, and you have these like marauding clans or PvE environment risks that are out there in space, if you die, you lose your assets and you'll have to replace those. And that's accompanied by the highest reward. So ultimately, the idea is that you can point your ship in any direction and just go as long as you want, but you could also run out of fuel along the way, right?
Right.
Fuel is a limited resource. So the ability for you to travel through space depends on the size of your ship, your fuel capacity, which also determines how fast you can travel. So smaller class ships are not going to be able to travel as fast as the larger class ships. So,
Yeah.
the specific borders, I would say we don't have that part completely worked out immediately. Again, because we need to find some balance between how big is space versus how many people we have in space, so that it's actually still enjoyable. I think most people don't want to just go fly around space without encountering anybody else ever.
Well, so that brings into a question. I don't know if I don't know, is PvE the same thing as an NPC? Is that what you mean by like, are there going to be, in other words, well, let's just do this real quick. So first of all, we know that there's these three factions, and I understand them. Like there's the Ooster, which is like a kind of a sentient android kind of race. There's the Mud, I think, which is like the humans, right? and then there's the Oni, which I didn't quite understand if that's just one race of aliens or if that's like a whole bunch of different races of aliens.
It's essentially a class of alien races. Yes,
Okay.
multiple races of aliens.
Okay. And so those are the three factions that are going to be in the game. And so will there be like significant like already things that, in other words, you say we're going to start with these like hubs, right? These safety zones where you start on a space station. But I mean, are there going to be like other sentient life out there that we interact with that's not player based, that or that could be come from one of these three factions, or could even come from some other, just again kind of imagining like Star Trek The Next Generation, right? You're meeting all these different kinds of things as they go about the time. So what's that, at least initially, what's that going to look like?
Yeah, and I maybe should define PVE as player versus environment. So that is essentially anytime you're fighting against the AI, right?
Okay.
And that's opposite of PvP, which is player versus player. So anytime you're engaged with another human being from the planet Earth, that is PvP combat, and that will be experienced in both the medium risk and the high risk. So important to note here that this is a very long development cycle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think of games like Cyberpunk that just recently was released. It had a 7-year development cycle, still kind of riddled with a lot of bugs, and that's not a criticism of them. But there's also this enormous demand for the game developers to release a product. And so we're taking a different approach, which is to be a little bit more iterative and to introduce gameplay mechanics over time that may be limited. It's not the full scope of the game development. It's not the final product, but it does allow players to engage with our content, to start to navigate space, and probably more importantly, start to actually earn rewards. So that might mean that when you first get into the game, there is an NPC, a non-playable character that you can collect a mission from. And that mission might be go explore this asteroid. There was a shipwreck there, and see what you can salvage or see what information you can gather. So you go out there, you gather the information, you bring it back to the NPC, and that begins a quest chain where perhaps you get another mission or another quest subsequent to that, but you get rewarded along the way. I hesitate to reveal too much more than that because we do have some like unique modules that we want to be releasing relatively early, and to us they'll be enjoyable to play, but everything that we're releasing is going to enable the player to generate some revenue or some financial reward off of the activity that they're participating in.
Love that. And I've heard you say this a few times, that you all, and you kind of just described this, you all describe it as like Star Atlas being this project, this creation, and you all are thinking of it, you're building the ship as you're flying it, right? Like I've heard you all say that a number of times, and I really like that, where it's almost like recognizing that it's going to evolve, recognizing that you all will be evolving it while the players are evolving it, while anybody else who comes in, and brings ideas. And you seem like, even in like the town hall meetings, that you've been very open just to people's ideas, people just like throwing out ideas, and you're like, oh, well, that maybe we should incorporate that. And I think there's something to that I don't know. There's something to that that's almost kind of heartwarming for me. It's like kind of, again, bringing technology into a space of of humanity, right? Of the creative force of humanity, and how things can take all kinds of turns, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on any other thoughts on that?
No, I love it, and I think it's an accurate assessment. We really consider ourselves to be more stewards of Star Atlas than owners of Star Atlas, so to speak. We do have the big product vision that we want to bring to market. We're careful about the extent to which we incorporate user feedback immediately into our development process, simply because if you start factoring in everybody's opinions, you're never going to get to a final product. And so so we are kind of moving forward based on the projections and roadmap that we've scoped out. However, the once again longer term vision here is to be able to turn this product over to the world, so it's no longer exclusively driven by us, and that would be done through ownership and polls. Through ownership in Polis, proposals can be generated that would mean that, say, a separate development group could contribute content to the game. We have kind of the exclusive rights to building out the way Star Atlas looks today, but in the future, maybe somebody else who's just a great artist wants to submit a proposal to the community that says, I've got this new class of ship that I think should be integrated into the game, and I want to sell my ship to the community. And if the community agrees with that proposal, well, they just become a new purveyor to the metaverse alongside us, right? And we could be voted out over time. This is multi-year kind of transition that will take place. But in the future, people might say that the team that was originally behind Star Atlas, we don't want you developing this anymore. We think that there's better people who can build this better than you. And
Wow.
so, and that is something that we're comfortable with, because we just end up being competitive in the business environment with everybody else who wants to contribute. So for us, it's not about creating that walled garden approach that we've seen so commonplace across all of the traditional game development studios. We are trying to break down those barriers and create a new paradigm. And we do believe that the way that we're developing out is the future of gaming, and it allows for so much more creativity and ingenuity in the contribution of the future of the game. So the important thing for us is to get it to a point where we reach critical mass, and there are many, many people that want to play and want to contribute value, and we create this sustainable economy within the Star Atlas ecosystem.
Man, oh my gosh. It's so, everything you're describing and talking about, it's so, I love it. And it's so, like, I feel like there's so much, there was a word that came to me while you were talking. I forget what it was, but it's, I'll try to just describe it. It's just that, just that it sounds like you all are wanting, like you said, you're wanting to create and then be the stewards of this idea, this creation, and taking, in many ways, taking greed out of some of it. I mean, certainly people in the game, you never know what they're going to do, because it's like you said, it's going to be very there's a lot of free enterprise and free to do all kinds of things and join up in groups and whatnot. But in many ways, taking yourselves out of the equation as a limiting factor, while still contributing the best of what you all have, and then encouraging the best in others. Oh my gosh, that's just, I feel like that's so much of the world, so much of humanity is heading in this direction. I mean, there's other business models that I'm familiar with, and in some cases part of, in some cases creating, that this concept of just a much more free flowing generosity and collaboration is so powerful. I do want to make sure we talk a little bit about the difference between Atlas and Polis as the currencies, and what they are, how they'll be used, and then how are they acquired? Are they acquired the same way? Can we dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, and I will caveat it and say once again, this is one of the items that we're discussing extensively with our economics team right now, which includes our own in-house economists as well as consultants, as well as working with teams like Republic.co's crypto advisory arm, to ensure that we can create a sustainable economic model across tokenomics, across game balance, across game economics, and then the more boring stuff like corporate financial modeling and sustainability of our own centralized organization. So Atlas is the lubricant of the entire universe. So it's effectively the same as in-game gold, with the exception of, as I said, it can transcend the game universe because it's traded on crypto exchanges. So it's very easy to move in and out of the metaverse of Star Atlas. That's virtually it. It's also the primary unit that will be utilized for rewards. So when you're selling ore, when you're completing missions in the game, exchanging items on the NFT marketplace, which again is embedded into the game UI, these are all transacted with Atlas. Polis is multi-purposed. It has functionality within the game as well as external to the game. But Polis is our decentralized autonomous organization. We will actually be spinning up one of the first DAO organizations in Wyoming sometime in July that will be kind of the arbiter of the way that things like revenues that flow through the game get distributed out to stakeholders. And so if you're a DAO, if you're a Polis token holder, it means you will have the weight of being able to vote on things like what financial distributions look like to anybody else who holds the Polis token. What is the next feature that the player base wants to see developed out? When should we start enabling things like the sale of player created content within the game, right? And so once again, that will kind of follow a period of centralized control where we have the majority of the voting right, and we get to steward the game in the direction that we think is most suitable for the game. And maybe just a quick comment here on, us being stewards and being more generous. It's, far easier to say than to actually do once you start to involve the ego in decision making, and when things get progressed so far along. But a way that we can combat that is just through the initial modeling that we do that outlines in advance how Polis gets distributed out to the community. And that would be through things like staking of tokens, participation in proposals. So if you're actually actively voting, you'll get rewarded for participating in that decision. And then within the game, there's this strategic element wherein you can actually politically control regions of space as well. And if you do, you can impose taxes on other players, which is another revenue stream for you. You can define some degree of laws, fines, fees for various activities in that region that you control. So it actually has in-game functionality, but the bigger purpose is to drive the long-term development of the game and the influence on decision-making surrounding that.
Okay. And so it sounds like, so much of this is still just, everything you said makes total sense, by the way, and thank you for that. But it sounds like there's so much yet to be determined, right? As far as like how you'll earn Polis, and it sounds like you have a few areas, but it's kind of in flux and in development.
We will be releasing both a tokenomics document, which speaks specifically to Atlas and Polis, as well as a game economy document, speaking specifically to the way that you earn rewards and the various mechanics that you participate in to earn those. Within probably 4 weeks, I hate to put a hard date on it, but probably sometime in the middle of July, we'll release both of these documents. And so there will be a lot more information out there informing people on how to actually earn from this game and earn from the capital that they're kind of injecting into the economy.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, just a few more questions and then we'll wrap up, and we can, this has been so great. This has been just really a delight. So, okay, let's go to, what would you say would be something that entrepreneurs could really learn from this project and what you all are creating with Star Atlas?
Entrepreneurs more broadly, as in anybody out there that interested in participating in Star Atlas, or just?
I'm letting you answer that how you really want to answer it, because I'm speaking to entrepreneurs in the broadest sense as far as what you're creating, as far as the game itself. Really anything that intuitively comes to your mind when I ask that question.
So you're kind of catching me off guard, but I guess the one thing that I would kind of comment here is that we are trying to introduce a new economic paradigm, like a new perspective from which people can operate. And so most conventional business is very much oriented on kind of the numbers and also protecting your intellectual property, making sure you secure your intellectual property, you fend off people from being able to access it. There's no sharing of information. And one of the most inspiring parts of operating within the cryptocurrency space is this free open source software concept, right? Like Bitcoin code, which is enormously valuable, is free for anybody to download. It always has been.
Wow.
Right? And a lot of the protocols that exist out there where people are creating these ingenious ideas, the code is available for anyone else to download and build on top of, right?
Okay.
And what that has led to is this enormous amount of innovation. And we are now at a spot in the history of blockchain and cryptocurrency that had everybody been so protective of what they were creating and preventing other people from accessing it, we just never would have had the degree of adoption that we have now. So we're kind of taking a similar approach where we're not trying to protect all of our intellectual property per se. We want to allow other people to utilize this as a tool set for themselves to build value on top of, because when they're building value on top of existing protocols, it actually creates more value for everybody across the board. And so I think that that's one of the more inspiring aspects of crypto to me, and the way that we're managing the business is it's, our end goal isn't about how do we get acquired or how do we go IPO,
Right.
because we inherently know that we'll be able to capture value off of what we created over time. And especially so if we enable more people to add value to it, right? And let them get a piece of it. Of course, anybody that wants to contribute to what we're building should have the ability to. That only enhances the value of the greater sum of the whole, right?
Yeah, it's such an inclusive way of looking at things. And again, I feel like from my metaphysics background, recognizing that we are all connected. I mean, that's the reality that I live in, that I strive to live in, that I strive to teach people, that we're all linked, we're all connected. And I think you kind of answered two of my other questions, which was, what's the biggest vision you can see for Star Atlas, as well as do you think that Star Atlas will become a model for like other economic, structures, right? I mean, I don't know if there's any other thoughts you have. I mean, I think you kind of covered it, but is there anything that any of that stimulates in you?
For sure it does. We see the the metaverse as this ground for experimentation across things like society interactions, across politics, across governance, and then across economics. And we're going to be able to experiment, and people are going to be free to iterate within the metaverse and kind of determine what the outcome is. And we certainly see the potential for a decision that was made in Star Atlas to impact the real world in some way. I mean, people might identify that there's an optimal path that's superior to the one that we operate under right now, that can be realized in real life through this experimentation. So absolutely, the amount of experimentation that can take place here is enormous, and it's because we are creating this, largely simulated reality, just in a virtual environment. So
Nice,
yeah.
man. Oh, so good. Okay, so who's your favorite superhero? I'm totally just gonna throw this totally different thing. Who's your favorite superhero?
Man, I was always a big fan. So I watched a lot of X-Men growing up, and Cyclops was my guy.
Who?
Cyclops.
Cyclops. Why is that?
It's a good question. I don't know. It was just who I liked as a kid. But if I were to go the supervillain route, I'm trying to remember the name of the show on Prime. It's
The
all about
Boys?
the boys. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite villain on that show?
I'd probably be the guy that
Homelander?
Homelander. Yeah.
Homelander, the anti-Superman. Yeah.
I told you at the start of the show I was a super villain, not a superhero. So
Oh man. Yeah, no, that's a fantastic show. I absolutely love that. And Homelander is just hideous. So okay, man, this has been so cool. Let's see if there's anything else. While I got you here, before we let go, I'm just kind of looking back over my notes. Oh, are you? I'm just curious. Are you? Where are you? Are you in Vegas? Are you in California? Where are you?
yeah, I'm in Vegas right now. I mean, it's always kind of transient, but from a corporate organizational standpoint, we're all over the world. We're over 70 team members, which is extremely impressive. Just to see the team scale from 4 people in January to over 70 people today across 15 countries. Multiple time zones, all different cultural influences coming into the development of the game. It's just kind of a beautiful thing to watch, and I certainly don't take credit for it, but I'm just impressed that the team has scaled so substantially over such a short amount of time.
Yeah. All right, one more. You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but I was an astrologer, like kind of part-time for years. So I gotta know, like, when's your birthday?
I can't. I'm not going to share it just for. Yeah.
Can you tell us your sign?
I'm a Virgo.
Virgo. Nice. A lot of precision. Love that. Sweet, man. That is so awesome. I think I'm gonna let you go because I know I've kept you for almost an hour here. I guess any last words, anything else that you would want to just share? Let's do this. If people want to find out more about Star Atlas and they want to, because there is a mini game coming out that people can actually start earning some crypto in a month or two, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So probably the easiest path is just to direct people to staratlas.com. We have links to our Telegram channel, which is kind of more crypto oriented. We have a link to our Discord. Both channels have over anywhere from 5,000 to 6,000 plus people. We see a lot more gamers on Discord. And then of course you can find us on Twitter, on Instagram, and the other socials through there as well. But we also, you had mentioned the town halls. We hold these Atlassian town halls every week, and people are free to come in and ask questions to us. I'll be there responding to those questions, and other members of the leadership team will be there. So, and yeah, the mini game is coming out, and the first version will come out in about 2 months now. Yeah, a little less than 2 months. And yeah, would love to see everyone just get engaged and ask questions and be involved in the community.
Sweet, man. This has been, I really appreciate it. You coming on. I know you're very busy. You guys are doing so much stuff. Like you said, now you all have 70 people you're coordinating with. I'm sure more than that with all the other sort of other people who are kind of flowing in and out and helping out with the creation of this. So, Michael, thank you so much for investing your time, your energy in this creation, as well as for my listeners too.